A few years ago, nobody loved Cinsault. Nobody wanted to hear about Cinsault, and nobody could see even Cinsault on a label. It was part of blends. It has been making great wines in Stellenbosch and other areas, blending with Cabernet Sauvignon. But Cinsault was like this cousin we are ashamed of in the family. Like it's not almost not belonging, but actually Cinsault carries the true DNA of wine in South Africa, especially red wine, for decades now, or almost more than half a century. Luckily, now people realize that Cinsault is just not a blending component, but can be a great wine on its own. And they realize that if you can get access to all vines, therefore concentrated flavors of Cinsault, it can produce mind-blowing wines. And I'm sure that's what Metzer Wine tried to do with this 2019 Cinsault from Stellenbosch. And the most important part is the vineyard has been planted in
1964.
Which is more than almost 60 years old.
Almost
it's 50 years old wine. So what do we have in this old vine, young wine, Kathy?
I love that, old wine, young wine. So this wine is definitely, for me, one of those wines of the trend at the moment where South African winemakers are looking to make lighter, less extracted red wines. And the reason I say this is because the color is translucent, so you don't have the people working the caps, working the skins, doing lots of pre-fermentation maceration to extract color. And also on the palate, it's much lighter in alcohol than we've come to expect of South African red wines. Normally our red wines are 14.5% if you're lucky, 15% and 15% usually. And it's fermented very dry. It's just under 2 grams per litre. For many years now we've been used to wines that have come in, because they're picked so ripe, they've come in at residual sugars of about 4.5, 5.5 grams per litre sugar. So this is almost reverse engineering. And then what you have in your glass with this is, as I mentioned, the translucent color, which makes you think immediately of Pinot Noir or Nebbiolo in
or
terms
Grenache.
of color, or Grenache. It's got, for me, a dusty top note to this strawberry, raspberry fruit character. Now, Cinsault and Grenache is also often described as being very strawberry. But for me, the Grenache is a grape that oxidizes quicker.
Much faster,
Much faster. So it has a more orange color because it picks up the color changes as well. And also it's this dusty top note that for me talks of Cinsault, as well as this almost raspberry boiled sweet character. As I mentioned, very dry, lightish. The extraction is definitely dialed back. And the palate is also characterized by a stemmy stalkiness. I suspect that this has been fermented with some stems, which is common practice in Burgundy amongst the Pinots, but to almost replace new oak. And so I don't pick up any new oak on this either. If it has seen oak, I'd say that this has been done in really old barrels, but with a fair portion of maybe whole bunch with the stems, or just some stems added back in there. So things to look out for are the translucent color, the strawberry characters, and then that stemmy character as well.
I completely agree with you, and in the sense that we have, I remember from my childhood, I grew up in the mountain forest, or close to mountain forest, and we had these wild strawberries, but very small, teeny strawberries that were very intense and fruity. And therefore, we end up now with that Cinsault, something we would not find maybe on Pinot or Grenache, that would be riper strawberry or riper raspberry. Here we have this very delicate, very restrained fruit at the beginning. But then it makes like all the wine is restrained and the body is packed, just got more grip. Yes, we can be mistaking that for some of this new age Pinot Noir, full bunch fermented, like we got more and more again in Burgundy, going back from the destem wine to the more grapey texture. And yes, we have clearly a grapey texture here, but I think that's just an indication that the wine will just evolve beautifully. It's 2019, and I know people tend to buy wine, you know, they would like the 2023 already in their glass, drink it and buy it and drink it. Wine needs time, and I think especially on old wines like that is so concentrated, this Metzer wine from Stellenbosch, this Cinsault 2019, give it time. It's gonna open beautifully, and the quality of the fruit might not be bold, but it's extremely elegant.
And it's very pure.
Yes, very pure.
And I think I'll remind you what your grandfather said. As he said, a wine has to be great in the beginning to be great in the end.
Yeah.
So you can't start off with a not great wine and keep it for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years and land up with a great wine. And this wine exhibits balance, and as you say, it's got concentration. It's just dialed back a little bit, so it's starting off in a good place.
And tasting a wine like that, a Cinsault like that, now I understand why Professor Perrault might have chosen that grape to make the Pinot Noir of the future in South Africa. That makes a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes, to the professor.
Metzer wine, well done. Cinsault 2019, Stellenbosch wine of origin.